Showing up with a bottle of wine to a single woman's home at night after showing off your beautiful wife to her the same day. You sure know how to play with a girl's heart, Liam.
I don't have any gold to pay you, Liam said.
All right, now I am angry. Or am I? Is this what it feels like to be desired? Liam rolled his eyes as he placed another crate atop Raquel's counter. House Rastello paid him in scrip, so the only way he could buy things from the city was to pay with goods purchased from the camp.
So,
Raquel leaned on her elbow as she examined a bottle of liquor. What are you looking for?
I saw a bunch of things that might be useful earlier today, Liam said.
Before any of those, though, do you have something that will help me see in the dark?
Sure do. You do? That was unexpected.
Raquel turned around and started rummaging through a cabinet.
About 5 years ago,
she told him, the Royal Army wanted to try some out for their night patrols.
They didn't work out, though. Why?
Unreasonable expectations?
Anything goes with magic in most people's heads.
Someone thought that a dark vision item would allow them to see at night as well as one would during the day, which is sort of true, but they ignored the fact that most dark vision items only have a 10 to 20 meter range. Demi-human hunters ambushed the patrol, picked them off outside of their dark vision range, and the army lost their investment. The mage pulled a small case out of the cabinet and placed it on the counter between them. She opened the lid to reveal a selection of jewelry. I made a few extra thinking that people might show interest after the army bought some, Raquel said, but since it was a failure, I've been stuck with them ever since.
Why not market them to the local artisans?
Liam asked. If they can see in the dark, they don't need to spend money on fuel.
Oh, I tried,
Raquel answered with a shrug.
All I got was an endless stream of excuses. Sunlight's free.
Lamps are cheaper.
It's not natural. Half of the people I approached thought I had some ulterior motive, like corrupting their minds through a ring or something ridiculous like that.
How do you even make a living here? I was doing pretty well before the war. The secret's to offer the same enchantments that the temples do. That's why I became an abjurer. The temples can't come close to meeting the country's demand for magic items, so making the same stuff's a lucrative niche that no one questions. In everyone's minds, if the government issues magic items, those items are from the temples.
Liam picked out a brass band from the case. He could tell that it was far more valuable than a mundane item, but he had no idea what it was.
What's this one?
He asked. A minor ring of protection, Raquel answered.
Know what that does?
Though he did know, he shook his head. Being too knowledgeable would arouse suspicion.
Magical protection is divided into different categories, the mage said. All rings of protection provide what's called a deflection bonus. To put it simply, it makes attacks miss. Arrows veer off the mark, solid hits become glancing blows miss entirely, that sort of thing. A minor enchantment isn't much on its own, but, when you add it with all the other effects and throw on some decent armor, you'll find yourself with better protection than a suit of full plate. So how do I pick what goes where? Adventurers spend years cobbling together sets of equipment from what they can find, but that's not necessary. If you have access to masterwork equipment, an enchanter with the right spells, and the materials needed for everything, you can be pretty flexible with your items. If that's true, then why don't adventurers do that? Because they're weird. They're all obsessed with finding some amazing magic item and then building a set of equipment around that magic item. Most of them even start building those sets before they get their hands on that item because they're so damn convinced that they'll somehow get that one thing they heard legends about growing up. The more amazing, and rare, magic items they have, the better, so they hold out for those, as well. It's kinda like a disease. In reality, they just die trying to do that when they could have just started with a basic set of magic equipment and worked their way up from there. Now that she mentioned it, adventurers were like that. The Sorceress Kingdom's Adventurer Guild was full of people aiming for the craziest items in the guild's point catalogue. Lord Mayor put them through a lot of pain before they finally capitulated and went for something less ambitious.
That doesn't make much sense to me, Liam said.
Well, magic items don't make any sense to most people, Raquel said, so they don't think about them at all. But aren't there magic items that are useful for everyday life? Most people I know are pretty practical. Shouldn't that win out over fear and superstition? If practicality's won out, no one's told me about it. Or my neighbors. Say what? Since you're so open-minded, why not buy one of those everyday items? I bet you and your wife could drum up some business for me in the camp. I'll talk to Nat about it. She might have saved up enough to get something nice for her workshop. For now, I need stuff to help me out with my work. Is it so dangerous in the city now that you need magic items to survive? I haven't run into anything that dangerous in this jurisdiction, Liam said. But they still make my work easier, right? Like being able to see in the dark when I'm on the night patrols. While the army may have been disappointed with the performance of their dark vision items, they were perfectly fine to use in the city. 20 meters of dark vision range was more than enough for the enclosed spaces and short distances involved when working in urban areas. I guess that makes sense, Raquel said. So does that mean everything else you're interested in runs along those lines? Mostly. Nat wants to get the armor pieces she's making enchanted because she keeps stabbing me in her imagination. How much for a dark vision item? Honestly, I'm not used to bartering. This is a long shot, but do you have access to enchanting reagents? Those damn demi-humans snatched up nearly everything and ruined what they didn't steal. You'd have to be specific, Liam said. I don't know what's a reagent and what isn't. I guess I'll write up a list, Raquel said. As for this other stuff. The mage scratched her head as she examined the items arranged on the desk. In addition to the liquor, there were preserved foods, clothing, boots, shoes, tools, and some nice-looking accessories picked up from the labor camp's market. Between the script-based system of the camp, his appraisal abilities, and the crazy prices in the city, he had lost all sense of what was worth what. I suppose if you scrounge up 10 times what you've brought so far, it'd be worth a dark vision ring. 10 times? Hey, magic items are expensive. Don't act as if I'm giving you an unreasonable quote. In that case, what would I need to carry around the least of to pay for everything? You can pay right now? Darn, I should have quoted a higher price. Raquel raised her hands disarmingly. It was a joke. Let's see, the problem with bartering like this is that you can end up with a lot of stuff you can't get rid of. For example, these knickknacks here might be more valuable than everything else, but I'm not going to be able to sell them when people can barely afford food. Since I'm already selling conjured food, it'd be easier for me to sell food that you trade to me. But since food is cheaper than those knickknacks, that means you'd have to carry more stuff and that costs you more time and energy. Well, at least you're not a horse. So if I wanted to barter for more magic items or enchantments, it'd have to be food, Raquel told him. I wouldn't be able to move anything else fast enough. Cider or ale would also work, barely anyone can afford wine these days. That would come out to a lot of food, but, if House Rastello wanted to start integrating their labor camp's economy with the city's, they would probably look positively on the transaction. And, the more we do it, the more the other houses will want to stop us. House Rastello needed to start gaining ground on their new rivals, so that was probably the best part. So far, no one had grown bold or desperate enough to attack their jurisdiction. I think I can do that, Liam said. You'll have to give me some time to carry it all in, though. Can't you just stick it all on a wagon? I can lend you my cart. He wasn't sure whether he could. House Rastello's plans were still forming, so all he was going by was the gist of what they wanted to do. Spies might spot him bringing in all the extra food and react to the information faster than House Rastello wanted. Wait, Liam said, how much food am I bringing in? Let's say 30 times this crate here. Preserved food is fine. No fruit. Never mind spies, his own allies were going to give him strange looks. I'll try to bring everything in the morning after my shift is over. Do you mind if I use the item right away? Sure. Raquel leaned over the counter and fished several accessories out of the case. Liam chose a plain steel band and slipped it on his middle finger. He looked into the shadows of the store, confirming the effect. Is there anything I should know about this item? He asked. It's just a magic item, Raquel answered with a shrug. The thing isn't going to steal your soul or make you grow a tail or anything. All right. Thanks. He left Raquel's shop through its back entrance, accustoming himself to the range of his freshly bestowed magical vision. Hoban's magical lighting was limited to its most affluent districts, and rationing limited House Rastello's jurisdiction to the lighting of each patrol's torches. He already missed having dark vision as soon as he started his assignment in the Holy Kingdom, so it was a great relief to have it back again.
I wonder what I should get next. There was an alchemist next to the tanneries, but things hadn't escalated to the point where he would need potions yet.
As far as utility items went, Raquel had provided an invaluable hint as to how he could seamlessly equip himself. So long as he employed items that produced magical effects considered normal to the people of the Holy Kingdom, it was more likely that they would want to purchase a similar item for themselves than question his use of them. The other limitation was that he needed to stick close to people's perception of a thief-taker. If he started flinging magic arrows out of a wand or tucked a dozen healing scrolls into his bandolier, it would attract unwanted attention.
But I should still get my hands on a healing wand. I can hide one under my bracer.
Sending multiple agents is well within the other house's capabilities, and I'm bound to get injured trying to defend my turf against them. While he was much stronger than the average person in the Holy Kingdom, he still wasn't at the point where he could reliably take on groups of enemies alone. Dealing with large groups would involve stringing them out and healing himself between fights. Liam climbed onto the rooftops and checked his dark vision on the alley below. It was more than enough to cover the stretch directly below him. He visualized the matrix of streets and alleys under his charge and headed to the first spot that intruding rogues would consider safe from the street patrols. Wow, there's someone there.
Two someones, in fact.
Both appeared to be slightly older than he was. He knelt on the eaves directly above them, straining his ears to make out their hushed conversation.
All right, I think we got in unnoticed. What now? We look for evidence.
Like, a body? A demonic ritual?
No plan, I guess.
As with Esme, it looked like they had been blindly dispatched as scouts with only their preconceptions as a guide. Since that was the case, either the house they worked for had no spies feeding them information on potentially compromising activities, or the spies couldn't find anything to point to. A corpse would smell in this heat. Maybe they're using the stink of the tanneries to hide one. You know, I heard from a guy that some of the shops here have materials again. So they're using human leather?
Those sick bastards.
Liam scratched his head as the two urban scouts crept off with their newfound sense of righteous indignation. He went ahead of them, checking for the location of the nearest street patrol. When the two stopped inside an alley entrance to let the patrol pass, Liam dropped a roof tile behind them. They jumped at the sound of shattering clay and fled into the street. Who goes there? You ain't skinning us, Rastello demons. The two scouts drew their daggers. The patrolmen drew their swords. The scouts took a moment to reconsider their challenge before running back into the alley. After them. Lift that torch higher. Where's Liam? Arg. It would be nice if his allies didn't just give away his name while also announcing his presence in the area. He shadowed the two scouts, watching them feel their way through the darkness after running into a back lane. The patrol stopped at the alley junction, bunching up as the lead man poked his head cautiously around the corner. Is there a trap?
I don't know.
Give me that torch.
I don't see anything.
You fool. It wouldn't be much of a trap if we could see it. Those damn rogues. Liam dropped into a courtyard nestled in the center of the block. He tripped the first scout as he left the alley, knocking the second out when he stopped at the sound of his stumbling partner. The two men were already bound by the time the patrol appeared. Despite the novice behavior of the two agents, they still would have made a clean getaway if he hadn't stopped them. All things being equal, the other houses would have had few issues gathering information if House Rastello didn't step things up.
Oh,
Liam, the patrol sergeant said. Good work.
Their equipment's over there.
Liam gestured to the pile on the opposite wall. Can you handle them from here?
No problem.
4 men came forward to take the scouts out of the alley. Liam frowned as he watched their well-practiced movements. How did you handle this sort of thing back when you were in the army?
Liam asked.
I've never had anyone pull a dagger on me before, the patrol sergeant said, but something like this. The army's thief-takers did most of the work in the shadows and we'd book their catch at the local office. And now all of those thief-takers are out of the country. He wasn't sure if this particular perk of sending the army away was a part of the royalists' plan or simply a coincidence. The former seemed increasingly likely the more he encountered the domestic vulnerabilities opened up by the nobles' political maneuvering. Everything that they did was done with the aim of removing the checks and balances that hampered their activities. Liam shadowed the patrol until they reached the gatehouse. They were far more cautious handling men than they were women. His Ijania training asserted that this was common for races where males were stronger than females, but he couldn't believe that anyone could be so negligent with women until he saw it with his own eyes.
They should get better, I hope.
The more mistakes they made, the better he looked in the eyes of their superiors.
However, if House Rastello wanted to expand its influence, it had to be able to protect what it held.
Everyone had to do better if they wanted the house that they served to rise. It was both common sense to those accustomed to rural power structures and, ironically, a source of frustration to people like Sir Louis. It helped that the other houses were in the same situation, but chaos would break out as things escalated in Hobans if they remained at their current levels of competence. Which is fine, so long as that chaos doesn't affect us. So doesn't that mean we should be going on the offensive?
If he wasn't in the Holy Kingdom, it would undoubtedly be the best move.
His superiors in House Rastello, however, would probably disapprove. Additionally, the houses in Hobans weren't stupid, they were simply inexperienced. Much as it was with direct combat, rogues and assassins sought to keep their opponents on the back foot until they could finish them off. Since things were developing so slowly, he would essentially be teaching his enemies all sorts of things that he didn't want them to know every time they regained their balance. The next group of scouts he discovered were 3 pairs from different houses conferring in a cul-de-sac formed by the yards of 5 workshops. After listening to them for a while, he decided that they were no more successful than the first pair in digging up dirt on House Rastello. 6 versus 1 was dismal odds, so Liam left them to their conference to look for the nearest patrol. He found Marim and his squad 2 blocks away, going down an avenue toward the Western Plaza. A pair of men raised their torches as he approached them from the front.
Liam, Marim said, "What's?" Liam raised a finger to his lips.
Marim's men instantly assumed defensive stances,
looking all around themselves. "We can talk," Liam said in a low voice, "but keep it low.
There are 6 guys at the end of the alley behind the shops facing the Western Plaza."
"Are they dangerous?" Marim asked. "Not unless they try something crazy," Liam answered.
"It's just 3 pairs of sneaks from 3 houses trading information and rumors. So we just walk up to them?
They're on the ground,
so you don't have to do anything fancy to reach them. I'll be watching from above."
Marim nodded and turned to issue instructions to his squad.
Liam climbed back onto the rooftops, looking down at the alley as he backtracked to the group of intruders.
To his dismay, they were already on their way out.
He checked the progress of Marim's patrol, but they would be too slow to cut the scouts off. With no other way to warn them without giving his position away, he picked up another roof tile and tossed it in front of the scouts.
"Hobans is going to run out of roof tiles, at this rate." As one, the scouts stuck to the sound of shattering clay.
Marim and his patrol did, as well. The patrol recovered quickly, however, advancing down the alley at a faster pace. Liam cursed as the scouts drew their daggers and waited around a corner as the torchlight of the patrol cast long shadows on the walls in front of them. It's turned into an ambush, should I let it happen? A brawl in the alley was the perfect chance to implicate 3 houses in an attack on House Rastello's jurisdiction. Marim's patrol was about to be set upon by what was probably 6 rogues, however. The squad would still win, but a sneak attack in a vital area was potentially fatal for the weaker men in the patrol. Whatever. Liam picked up another tile and flung it at the scouts, catching the rearmost in the shoulder. Argh. With an unnecessarily loud cry of pain, the man collapsed to the dirt. Mark. The man nearest to Liam's victim turned and knelt to tend to him. Liam flung another tile at the ambushers, catching a second man in the hip. A second later, Marim and his squad barreled around the corner. 2 of the scouts flung themselves forward with a shout, stabbing wildly as they bowled Marim and another man over. A spear came in to impale one of the attackers through the ribs. Another patrolman ran in to pummel the second attacker with the pommel of his sword. The remaining 2 scouts fled, their terrified shrieks bouncing off the alley walls. A second spear lanced out to catch one in the calf and one of Marim's men leapt forward to tackle him. Liam tailed the remaining man from above while 4 men from Marim's patrol pursued him into the street. There, he had the misfortune of running in front of another patrol. Liam winced at the solid clunk that rose into the air when the patrol sergeant swatted the final scout to the ground with his shield. "What the hell is going on here?" the sergeant shouted as the scouts' pursuers spilled out of the alley. Liam reported a gang of rogues in the alley,
but we ran into them while they were on their way out.
Is everyone all right?
I don't know. It all happened in seconds.
TCH, the patrol sergeant turned to his men. You six, make sure this crook doesn't go anywhere. The rest of you, with me. Pained groans greeted the second patrol as they closed on the first. Mariam looked up from where he was propped against the alley wall. A bloody hand lay over his stomach and a dagger stuck out from between his fingers. Diogo. Mariam. By the gods. The second patrol sergeant knelt beside the first. Mariam punched him when he reached for the dagger. Don't pull it out, you idiot. Wait for the priest to get here first. Did you already send for one? Yeah. Gods, what a mess. 3 men were bound and under close guard, the 2 that Liam took out with roof tiles and the one that had been speared through the calf. The 2 that had ambushed the 2 patrolmen were lying on their backs. The other patrolman that had been ambushed was lying alongside them. Liam, Mariam breathed, you there? Yeah. We're going to have to work on that communication bit. Smashing roof tiles isn't going to cut it. 2 priests from the temple at the Western Plaza arrived with a pair of men from Mariam's patrol. Mariam yanked the dagger out of his gut, eyeing the blade as the glow of healing magic washed over him. In the end, the only fatality was the scout who was speared through the ribs. Liam accompanied the 2 patrols as they made their way back to the gatehouse with 5 prisoners and 1 corpse. Ser Jimena's only reaction to their entrance was a long frown. We'll need a real prison for these ones, sir, Mariam said. Ser Jimena's long frown grew even longer as he received the different reports about the incident, including the one from the priests. He left Liam's report for the last, rising from behind his desk after the other men were ordered to return to their duties. Is there something missing from their reports? Ser Jimena asked. They reported a lot of things I wouldn't have thought to report, sir, Liam answered. As for my side of things, that group wasn't doing anything special. Each pair of scouts probably encountered one another and they stopped to share information or at least try to find out what the other houses knew about us. What about what Mariam said about poor communication? He's right, Liam admitted. If we had worked out a way to communicate in advance, I don't think this would have happened. Mariam's patrol came in expecting to go up against some rogues. The scouts were being cut off from their escape route. Everyone just decided that a fight was inevitable and they fought as if they believed that only one side would be walking out of that alley alive. Now that he had plenty of time to review what had happened and listen to the other party's perspectives, Liam realized that he had committed a string of critical errors. Despite the unexpected movement of the intruding group, it was a fight that didn't have to happen at all. A relatively painless arrest could have been made if Mariam's group had simply waited for the scouts to come to them. Instead, they had gone in on Liam's word, suffered multiple casualties, and ended up with a dead man on their hands. Assassins made for terrible commanders. I see, Ser Jimena said. Well, that's the hand we've been dealt. We just have to work with it. Does House Rastello plan on using this incident? We'd be fools if we didn't. No matter how you cut it, our men were attacked in our jurisdiction by the other houses. How it played out wasn't ideal, but it still works in our favor. Not only will it take those 3 houses down a peg or 2, but it will help balance out those bad rumors surrounding the incident with Iago Lauser, especially with the city folk. There's nothing better than a threat at home to take one's mind off of threats abroad. But someone died, Liam said. This is going to put us in an even worse spot with the other houses. The next time they send people in, it may not just be to snoop around. Yes, well, Ser Jimena replied with a stony look. As I said, that's the hand we've been dealt. We're just going to have to be better at dealing with them than they are with us. The shouts of men drilling in the mustering yard woke Liam several times over the course of the day. He walked out, cranky-eyed, from his tent in the evening. It didn't help that he had spent the whole morning carting food to Raquel's shop. Good morning, dear, Nat rose from her seat at the workshop table with a smile. Morning, Nat. I got you your food. Nat went over to uncover a plate. It went cold, though. I'm sorry. No, that's fine. Liam shuffled over to the dining table. It's my fault for sleeping in, thanks for grabbing breakfast for me. Nat's smile returned. She sat down across from him as he ate. Liam tried to be quick about it to make up for lost time, but it was awkward with a person sitting a meter away just watching him chew. So, how was today? Busy, Nat said. Lots of people from A and B company asked me to make sure their stuff was fixed up nice.
And the men training
Today, does that mean the rumors are true?
Which rumors?
That an army of rogues attacked B company last night and they made a big pile of corpses in an alley. Everyone in the market was talking about it. How the? He knew rumors could grow out of hand, but he didn't expect them to get that bad within the span of a few hours.
It was just 6 guys that fought a patrol, Liam told her.
Well, only 2 of them fought.
1 was killed.
Did you fight,
as well?
Sort of. I took care of 2 guys just before the fight started. They never knew I was there. Nat's big brown eyes sparkled at his words. He wasn't sure he wanted to know what she was thinking.
I should get more of your equipment made, she said.
That will help you do more, right? You fixed up the braces already?
Yup. It was easier than I expected.
By the way,
dear.
Where did you get that ring from? He raised his left hand from the table.
This one?
It's from Raquel.
Nat's smile turned to ice.
Liam frowned at her reaction. It has a dark vision enchantment, he said.
Dark vision lets you see without light, so it's invaluable for my work. The girl's smile only grew more dire. She was just talking about how more equipment would help him, so he wasn't sure what the problem was. Since the braces are ready, he continued, I should go and see her again.
May I come with you?
Sure, Liam replied. Even if there was a fight last night, it's not dangerous or anything in the city. Actually, it'd help me out a ton. Literally.
Really?
Yeah. The best way to pay for her enchantments is with food. A lot of food. If you could hire a couple of laborers and organize the deliveries, it'd save me the trouble. I spent all morning pushing a cart back and forth from the camp market to her place. Nat gasped and stood up. Why, you can't do that, she told him. I can't? You need to think of your position. Someone of your status shouldn't be doing menial labor. Is that so?
It is,
Nat nodded firmly. The workshop's built up enough inventory to open a stall in the camp market. I'll hire some staff and they can do that stuff for you. Liam glanced at the workshop. The part of the big table facing the lane was full of Nat's goods, but he didn't realize that she was doing so well that she could hire employees. I'd appreciate that, he said. This evening's briefing will probably be longer than usual, so I'm going to head over early. I'll meet you outside of Rimian Gate. Got it. Nat's not ice smile returned and she departed for the market with a spring in her step. Liam dropped his dishes off at the kitchen before joining the men gathered around the mustering yard. Those within it practiced under the stern eye of Sir Louis. If they're here, Liam said, then where do we go? Here, as far as I know, Mariam said. You missed the drills this morning. I don't think they do me much good, Liam replied. At least if it's this. Mariam and his men straightened as the shadow of Sir Louis fell upon them. Ho! The towering knight said, so you think you're too good for my drills? I think they're useful for the street patrols, sir, Liam replied, but I won't get many chances to fight shoulder to shoulder with them. As far as he could tell, they were infantry drills modified from ones meant to fight demi-humans. Pairs of men with shields focused on defense while 3 or 4 others attacked their target with spears from the flanks. Actually, Liam said, isn't this overkill against human opponents, sir? If you somehow forgot, Mariam said, I got a dagger in the gut last night with a whole squad behind me. Yeah, but that was almost an accident. You came around the corner and ran right into their ambush. Unless you're in a defensive formation all the time, that's going to always happen in that situation. Since we're talking about fighting rogues. He pointed to one of the wide lanes going through the tents. If you want a more practical exercise for the men, sir, you can use those lanes as a street. Explain, Sir Louis said. You know more than me about a straight fight, sir, Liam said, so these exercises the men are doing right now are probably fine if you're openly facing off against someone in the streets. But the sneaks from the other houses won't give our men a fair fight. Rogues of that caliber get one good hit, they build all of their tactics based on landing that hit and getting away so they can strike again later. Even if they botch the attempt, they'll try to get away because sticking around is a guaranteed loss. So you want us to patrol these lanes and defend against attacks from rogues, but we don't have any rogues to practice against. But you do have candidates for thief-takers, right?
Sir Luis wasn't the only one who gave him a strange look. Liam wondered if they would ever make the connection. Our thief-takers have to learn how rogues operate if we want them to be effective, sir. For now, you can try it with just me on the attacking team. Jimena, Sir Luis looked over his shoulder, humor him. Can I lead the patrol? Sir Jimena asked. If you want, sir, Liam answered with a shrug. Luis. Don't embarrass yourself, Jimena. Sir Jimena turned away with a shake of his head, picking out 12 other men for his patrol squad. What now? We'll make the street about as busy as one at this time of day using the rest of the men, Liam said. Don't just stand around, though. Make some traffic like a street would have. The patrol will go around to the opposite end of the street and come through in their usual formation. The patrol left the mustering yard and Liam went between the tents next to the lane. He hoped the crowd wouldn't give him away by looking straight at his location. Just in case, he concealed himself before selecting his ambush spot. Sir Jimena's patrol appeared a minute later. As they passed his location, Liam slipped in behind a pedestrian walking in the same direction as the patrol to get within striking distance. An agonized cry pierced the air as he punched the rearmost patrolman in the back of the thigh, startling everyone nearby. He didn't linger to watch what they would do next, making his getaway before the other patrolman could finish turning to see what had happened. Don't all rush to where he was, you dimwits. Sir Jimena roared, cast a net. The patrol reacted instantly to the knight's orders, pushing their way through the crowd. Liam knocked out another man who had separated himself from his nearest squadmates in his over-eagerness. After that, he returned to Sir Luis' side. The knight looked on in disgust as Sir Jimena's patrol continued to search in vain. I've seen enough, Sir Luis said. We need to fix this. If it's so damn easy to take out 2 men from B Company, we won't have any men left by the end of the week. I don't see how we can stop that, sir, Marine said. I didn't even notice that Liam was Liam until he hit the patrol in the rear. Then he was gone just as quick. It's like any guy on the street could just stab you as they walk by. Sir Luis' eyes went to Liam. You just have to learn, Liam said. That's what drills are for, right? This sort of thing is new to everyone in Hobans. They probably don't even know that they need to figure this out yet. Whoever gets ahead will probably stay ahead for a long time, maybe forever if you keep honing your skills. You certainly seem to know what you're doing, Sir Luis noted. Yes, sir, Liam said. I know so much that we got into that stupid fight yesterday and 2 of our people got stabbed. I'm not a leader. The people that are supposed to be in charge of other people need to figure out what works. Creating tactics and formations that make life hard for the enemy is a commander's job. Though, if all of our men get toughened up, they can get stuck like our guys did last night and just sit around waiting for a healer instead of instantly falling over dead. Therefore, the one attack you mentioned that these rogues are relying on never produces the results that they want. I'm sure you've taken hits from a demi-human that would have killed a regular trooper, sir. I have, Sir Luis said. Since you put it that way, it does make sense. And I suppose getting stabbed by one of these rogues isn't anywhere near as bad as getting swatted by an ogre with a tree trunk. If they see that their rogues are ineffective, they may stop expending resources on their deployment altogether, which would save us this huge headache. Alright, we'll continue with regular drills for now. Practice with our thief-taker candidates will start tomorrow. Jimena, Perez is going to be wondering where the hell B Company is. Sir Jimena ordered the company to fall in for the evening briefing. Surprisingly, what he had to share was related to the previous night's incident, but had little to do with enemy infiltrators. The neighboring houses have doubled their patrols and their men are getting more brazen with their numerical advantage. Nothing but common thugs, I tell you. Have they gotten into any fights with our people? Diogo asked. No, Sir Jimena replied, but they're talking plenty of shit. First to strike loses in this game. I trust that no one here will fuck things up for us. The Royal Army might not be around, Liam said, but the Holy Order is. Why not bring them in to shut the other houses up? I never said that this situation is undesirable, Sir Jimena told him. The other houses reacted to last night by rushing extra men in, but it looks like their officers can't keep the newcomers from acting up. Every day that this goes on is another day that tarnishes their image even further. And, if they attack us openly, they'll be kissing their authority in Hobans goodbye. When they arrived at Rimian Gate, They found far less traffic going in and out compared to the previous evening.
What happened here? Liam asked.
The other houses are so scared of us now that they refuse to enter the city through Rimian Gate, Sir Jimena answered.
That's stupid.
You don't have to tell me. The upside's that we can move people and cargo in and out of our jurisdiction without anyone watching. The downside's that, well, there aren't any. Our enemies are paying extra just to move things the extra kilometer or two to the other gates.
How about the citizens?
Are they avoiding our jurisdiction
as well?
Unfortunately,
yes.
The other houses' slander isn't just directed at us, they're also using it to deter the city folk from entering our jurisdiction.
What are they saying?
Oh,
you know.
That we're murdering people and skinning them for leather.
Oh, we're selling human meat now, too, apparently.
That sounds like something that the Holy Order would be dispatched to investigate.
And I hope that never happens,
Sir Jimena said. The last thing we need is Remedios Custodio turning our jurisdiction inside out looking for evidence. Remedios didn't seem that bad to Liam, though he could see how she could be misled into believing ridiculous things.
He would have to preempt that, just in case.
Liam. Nat waved at him from where she was standing by the gate. Sir Jimena gave him a pointed look. We don't pay you to have an evening stroll with your wife.
It's work-related, sir, Liam replied.
House Rastello wants the camp to start trading with the citizens in our jurisdiction, right? Nat's hiring a shopkeeper and she wants some things from the city that we can't get in the camp. An ambitious wife, huh? Sir Jimena pursed his lips. I hope you don't get in over your head with her.
What do you mean?
Women like that can be dangerous, especially to men like you and me. We're always out on patrols or seeing to house business away from home. When we return, we find out that the wife's taken everything over and transformed it to her liking.
Liam hoped that would happen.
He wouldn't be around forever and would prefer to leave Nat capable of caring for herself.
I've seen it happen a few times, Sir Jimena continued, and it isn't pretty.
Make sure you discipline her whenever you think she's going out of line.
It's for her own good.
Nat came up to join them as Sir Jimena went on about how a man should manage his wife. Or wives, in his case. He was as close to an expert as one got, given he had 4 of them. Good evening, Sir Jimena. Nat lowered her head in a simple curtsy. I hear you're going shopping. Yup. Nat beamed. I hear that people are making trouble for us, though.
Don't you worry about that, Sir Jimena told her. We've got everything under control.
If you speak with anyone worried about it, make sure you tell them as much. Sir Jimena left to see Sir Perez in the gatehouse office. As Liam and Nat entered the city, Nat eyed the sentries curiously.
I've been wondering about this for a while now.
What is it?
Liam asked.
Why aren't the wares entering the city being taxed? Liam looked over his shoulder. She was right. The trickle of traffic passing through the gate wasn't being stopped by the customs officers. No, there are a few merchant wagons parked there. Neither the wagons nor the caravaneers bore any livery, so they were probably independent traders. Could it be that House Rastello wasn't taxing its own trade? No, they'd be collecting trade taxes on behalf of the crown, so, doesn't that mean we're smuggling? He tilted his head back and forth as he tried to figure out what was going on. I think we're treating our jurisdiction in Hobans as an extension of House Rastello's territory, Liam said. Just like the labor camp. I'm not sure whether it's supposed to work that way, but, since the goods aren't leaving our territory, they don't have to go through customs. As far as the letter of the law went, that probably wasn't how it was supposed to work. Trade taxes, however, were supposed to go toward infrastructure, security, and all of the other things that facilitated trade. Since the nobles had essentially taken over everything that the crown was supposed to handle, it potentially served as justification for the nobles to avoid paying taxes on their own freight. Well, it's not as if anyone under the nobles has coin to pay taxes with, anyway. They all use camp scrip now. Raquel's shop was near the center of House Rastello's jurisdiction, so they didn't see or hear any of the reported confrontations with the neighboring houses. They entered the shop to find the mage behind a ledger opened over the counter. Liam didn't see any of the food he had delivered in the morning.
Hey, Raquel.
What happened to all the food? Gone. Raquel looked up from the counter. It didn't even last an hour. Makes me think hard about whether magic item production was the correct career choice.
Who bought it? One of the local merchants working in the Western Plaza. He came in to restock on conjured stuff and saw that I had real food. The guy brought in a wagon to carry it all off, but he didn't get far. Did those troublemakers that started popping up today stop him? Nah, just the residents. They swarmed him while he was loading his cargo, so he sold everything right off the back of his wagon in front of my shop. That pissed me off just a bit. They wouldn't touch anything that I was selling. At least it sounded like he wouldn't have any issues buying enchantments and magic items from Raquel. He was worried that he would have to wait until she cleared her inventory before delivering more stuff. Liam unbuckled his new braces, placing them on the counter. Nat's done fixing these up, he said. Can you enchant them now? Did she get her certification from the Leatherworker Guild? Nat pulled a crisp roll of paper from a belt pouch. Here's one for the workshop, she said. The workshop? Raquel arched an eyebrow. Gem, I guess that would be the best way to do it. That's what my uncle said. What's important is that the work meets guild standards and the rest is politics, Raquel nodded. They won't question the work of a woman if it's the workshop making it. The guild will also be happy about someone on the nobles' side recognizing the guild's authority in the city. At the same time, they don't want the nobles sticking their noses in guild business, so they'll look the other way about your workshop not attending guild meetings. If the camp wants anything, Nat added, Uncle said to just have them tell me and I can tell him. Shrewd guy. Liam imagined the seizure that an elder lich in the Sorceress Kingdom would have after hearing all of that. Or maybe they would just fireball the Leatherworker Guild. Do enchanters have a guild in Hobart? Liam asked. It's the same split you'd see in other cities, I think, Raquel answered. We're all under the Merchant Guild and the Magician Guild for their respective aspects of our operations. Then, if there are enough specialists around, you'd get ones like the Pharmacist Guild or the Artificer Guild. Yeah, Alderbath's invasion basically destroyed everything from the Magician Guild down, though. So you just answer to the Merchant Guild now? They're the only thing that's left, which is a real shame. All of the magical knowledge of the Magician Guild and its affiliates was lost in the war. I hear the temples got ransacked, too. Our country's always been at the bottom when it comes to magical integration, but now we're setting new standards for how far down the bottom is. I guess you fought in the war, too. Wait a second, were you always a mage? Yup, I apprenticed under my mother as a kid. But I've never heard of any mages serving in the Royal Army, Liam said. No one in House Rastello's companies seemed to know much about magic and they certainly never gave a thought to magic casters in their training or tactical planning. There wasn't a single magic caster in the entire labor camp, either, and that included divine casters. The houses had no countermeasures against magic, which made mages with divination magic even more problematic than rogues. Oh, they're there, Raquel told him. Unless you're a noble or with the temples, you get a spear and bow, or crossbow, plopped in your hands and you're put through the same drills as everyone else. So even if you tell them that you're a magic caster, they won't have any of it, the mage shrugged. Once, I popped a few magic arrows into a demi-human and my platoon sergeant yelled at me for not sticking in proper. Well, I guess I didn't do too badly with a spear, or maybe it was because I enchanted all of my own equipment and used all of my mana on defensive spells when the sergeant wasn't looking. This place is hopeless. It was as if the Holy Kingdom itself was antithetical to the tenets of his faith. They had a weird moral and cultural imperative to be dysfunctional and then panicked whenever that dysfunctionality put them in a compromising situation. How they had managed to survive for so long was a complete mystery. I need to get to work soon, Liam said. What do you recommend for the braces? That depends on what you plan to put on everything else and how quickly you're going to do it. If you'd like a starting point, I'd appreciate it if you take some of these accessories off of my hands. You mean like the ring of minor protection from the other day? Yeah. If you plan on doing any fighting, you'll need it anyway. Alright, that makes sense. What next? It's pretty simple, Raquel told him. Enchantments aren't like layers of fabric that you can add to a gambesine to give it more protection. All you have to do is make sure you have one of everything that you want and pick a piece of equipment to put it on. Let's see, next are necklaces. Raquel pulled out the jewelry case from the previous day, opening it and pointing a finger at the contents as she spoke. This one makes you immune to disease, this one makes you immune to poison. This shell one is from the merfolk and lets you swim as fast as you can run. Oh,
It lets you breathe underwater, as well.
This one is, oh, I did have one.
The mage plucked a driftwood amulet from its mount, dangling it in front of Liam. Here's my recommendation, a minor amulet of natural armor. These things are great. If you have one equipped, you can drop a box on your bare foot and it'd be like you were wearing a sturdy pair of boots.
Will it change my skin?
Nope. Your skin will be as tough as an ogre's hide without changing even a little bit. Isn't magic great?
But I'll be wearing leather armor.
That's covered by a different enchantment, which you won't be getting. Liam equipped the ring and necklace resting on the counter. Nat poked his arm experimentally. It didn't feel any different. With that, Raquel grinned. Someone in leather armor has as much protection as they would in chainmail. Except it's leather.
Wait.
I get it, Liam said. What about the next piece of armor to enchant? Nat's ready to work on something new. Raquel leaned over the counter, poking her head over the edge. Those.
Liam looked down. My boots?
Yup. They may take the longest because it's another one of those enchantments that need a druid. I have a merfolk buddy that lives about 2 kilometers out from Cantor that can do it. Boots of striding and springing will make you run faster and jump farther. I figure you'd want that as a thief taker.
I do, Liam nodded.
Is there anything else that you'd need to visit your friend for?
Not that I can think of, Raquel said.
I need to restock on a few things from there, so it's more like an excuse for me to go. Then we'll pick up from here once you get back. Nat's getting a stand and some staff for her business, so she'll be handling deliveries from now on.
Got it.
Should I give that list of reagents to her, as well?
She's in a better position to find what you want,
so yeah.
Nat,
can you make it back on your own?
Sure, Nat replied.
I wanted to chat with Raquel about a few things, anyway. All right, thanks again for your help,
Raquel.
MHM. With that, he rushed out of the shop. Then, he nearly impaled himself on several spears.
Oh, it's Liam.
Ricardo, one of the company's patrol sergeants, gestured for his men to stand at ease. We saw the door to the witch's place open, he said, so we weren't sure what sort of monster would pop out. Nat's in there as well, Liam said. I'd stab you if you stabbed her. Is it safe to bring your wife here? Her family lives right there, Liam pointed across the street. The patrol sergeant looked over his shoulder at the Abaca Workshop's sign hanging over the door of their storefront. So they do. But what were you two doing in the witch's place?
This isn't a witch's place.
She's just a wizard.
I was ordering some enchantments.
Enchantments? As in, magic items? Liam said, with things going the way that they are, it'd be wise to invest in some extra protection. Maybe if it was from the temples,
but this is a bit.
Ricardo's men shared uncertain looks among themselves. Liam sighed. It was a good thing that nearly everyone in Hobans was just as fearful and superstitious as his allies were.